of soul.
This is Bass Talk Live. Your host, Mark Jeffries and Matt Pangrak. BTL is brought to you by Lowrance, Lose, Strike King Lures, Bass Cat Boats, Ducket Fishing, Spro, APCO, Big Bite Baits, Sunline, and TH Marine. BTL coming at you. Good Wednesday, everybody. Welcome once again to another edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we're going to talk bass fishing and anything else that we want to talk about. Matthew, how are you, man? Oh, my gosh.
Sorry, I became a weatherman in the last 5 minutes, just like you've been for the last 20 years, Mark.
Oh, suddenly you want to talk about the weather.
I absolutely do. Obviously, first and foremost, the focus is on safety, life, structure, property, that type of thing.
Yes.
But Hurricane Laura.
Yeah. Category 4 storm now. It's crazy, man. They kept saying 1, 1, 1. You know, it was kind of going to loop up and loop around. Wake up this morning, watch the news, and it is now a Category 4 storm, hurricane, of which quite possibly is going to impact the Open.
Yeah, which, listen, disclaimer, in all things in life, the fact that a Bassmaster Open on Sam Rayburn may or may not be impacted. I was actually texting Daryl Gleason, who's on his way to fish the Toyota in Oklahoma, and he's like, man, I'm a little nervous about this thing going down on how they're going to, you know, how depending on how the hurricane goes for the Open. So it is what it is. There's nothing you can do to change it. But I guess, yeah, I've been like living under a rock for this deal, but it's a pretty serious deal, man.
I think it's kind of funny that all of a sudden now you want to talk about the weather.
Well, this is a Category 4 hurricane now.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
I got two other things. I got to get this off my chest right off the bat.
All right.
What do I pride myself in a lot of times of the show is statistics, right?
You are a stat
Get this
guy.
stuff right.
Yep.
Kind of finding some cool little things that are going on,
Yes.
and I sit there. Gray Buck, still massively impressive. Classic qualifier, FLW title qualifier, doing well. And then I see the standings yesterday at the end of the day. John Cox is leading, and I'm like, son of a gun. John Cox fished in the Classic too. And here's what happened. So remember, John Cox made the decision. He stayed up in the north, and Northern Swing missed a FLW tour event, right? Pro circuit event. Mm-hmm. Well, I just assume you miss one out of only 6. You're not going to make the title. No, the dude finished in 18th. And now he's leading day 1 of the title. He caught a 5-pounder on a smallmouth.
Yeah.
So him and Gray Buck. So I had to bring that up. I said, I think Gray's the only one. How do you miss John Cox, who now supposedly can catch smallmouth? Not supposedly, he can.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I have, this made me laugh. You're a big fan of honesty, right?
Well, yeah.
What? So I'm perusing Instagram a couple days ago, and I come across this post from Eric Luzak, who's a Canadian angler that fishes the pro circuit, and I'm also buddies with Charles Sim. Remember the guy who fished the Classic from Canada, who forgot his lucky hockey stick?
Yeah.
He took one of my hockey sticks, put it in the boat for Grand Lake. Didn't work at all.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I come across this post, and it's for a live event that they're going to do, recapping their seasons on the FLW Pro Circuit. They both film, they both do stuff like that, right? So it's tonight, August 26th, 8 p.m. on their social media, Eric Luzik and Charles Sibbs. And this is what they titled their live stream, recapping their seasons. Will you read that title out loud?
Sucking gracefully. It's kind of funny.
I just got a chuckle out of that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to check it out. So if you guys are interested in that, there could be a little bit of good comedy in that going on tonight.
All right, good show today. Hopefully we will hear from the fans. We got some stuff that we're going to give away. We're going to give away some BFEs in the BTL color to what we feel is our best phone call of the day when we start taking calls. If you notice the Sunline Hotline numbers at the bottom of the screen there, 405-253-5543. We will start to take calls after we take our first commercial break. All right, man, I got a couple of things. Did you see the video that Scott Martin threw out?
Nope.
Care to guess what motor he's going to run?
Merc?
You, sir, are not correct.
Yamaha?
It is a Yamaha.
Really?
Yeah. So he threw a video out there. I think he just posted it last night. But going to be running a Yamaha. Now, I didn't watch the video. I just scrolled through it because I wanted to see what kind of motor it was. So I don't know if he signed a deal. I don't know whatever the terms of the deal is. I have no idea. I didn't watch the video. All I know is he has a Yamaha on the back of his boat.
He's one of the guys you think that would get paid to run a motor, correct?
Like I said, I don't know because I didn't watch the video.
How many guys take all 3 tours, just as your best guesstimate, Mark, are not only getting a free or multiple free motors, but actually getting a check from that company to run a motor? Because a motor is something...
Both tours?
Yeah, a motor is something that everybody's got to have, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no like, hey, I'm not going to run a motor if I don't get paid to. You got to have a motor on the back of your boat. And as we've learned, it's got to be over 150 horsepower if you're fishing the pro circuit.
Man.
How many are getting a check from a motor company, from any of them? What is it?
Maybe 2 out of 10.
Honda, Suzuki,
Maybe
Mercury,
2 out of 10.
Yamaha.
I'd say between 20 and 30%.
You think more of the guys with the Yamaha and the Suzuki are getting compensated just
I have
because,
no idea.
Because they're breaking into the industry?
No idea.
Huh.
Because what they might do is they may give them multiple motors. Here, go sell this one, rather than giving a cash payment. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea. If I had to guess based upon, when I know for a fact, notice I said fact, is there are guys that definitely get compensated, not only getting product, but also getting what I call a monthly stipend. Now, here's the thing. Back in the day, there were actually guys on tour, and I don't know if this takes place. Once again, I have no factual information on this. But what I do know in the past, back in the 90s and the early 2000s, there were guys that were actually employees of the motor companies, of which they got retirement, they got health benefits. They were part of the company from an employee standpoint. They paid, FICA and Medicare and everything else that you have to pay when you're an employee.
That's a deal.
Yeah, I don't know if any of those deals still exist today.
You feel like the motor wars, for lack of a better term, were bigger in the early 2000s?
I do.
I mean, it seemed like a big, big deal between the, you had the Team Evinrudes and the Mercuries and the Yamahas. Like, it
had
seemed
Johnson
like,
back then, too, which was a subsidiary or, like a sister company of Evinrude. But now what do you have? You got Mercury, you got Yamaha,
Suzuki,
and you got Suzuki.
And Honda.
But such a small market share.
Right. Suzuki actually has made a very good
Suzuki's got a huge market share in the saltwater market.
Right.
I can remember being in Charleston Bay when we were on vacation, and just about every single boat that I saw had a white Suzuki on it. So
there's some other one. It's like Tahaha or something. There's another one that I've seen 1 or 2 bass boats on. Tahachi. It's a.
I don't know.
It's a Japanese word. I can't remember what it is. Or it's a
Taiatsu.
Tatuhati. I don't know.
Taiatsu, maybe.
But it's a. I mean, I remember I saw it on a bass boat. I was like, well, what is that?
I can remember seeing a Nissan outboard.
Like a big one?
No, this is a smaller one. You ever see a Nissan outboard? Yeah. Anything else from an outboard? I don't know of any other outboard.
Tahatsu. That was
Tahatsu. What did I say? I don't even remember.
I was pretty close to that.
Yeah. Anybody got one of those? Have no idea. All right. I want to ask the fans out there, not only do we want your phone calls, but on YouTube and on the instant feedback. I don't think I've ever done this, and I want to ask people today, just put the city and state, or if you don't want to put the city, just put the state that you're watching us from live. I want to see where we're kind of,
Or country.
Or country. I know we have some.
Australia. We have a lot of
Yeah.
Canada.
Yeah. So if you want to, just throw your city and state where you're watching us from today, and we'll go from there. All right. I got one more thing.
Okay.
Part of my morning ritual is I'm off the grapefruit. Remember how I had to have my grapefruit and yogurt.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm off. I make this concoction of a smoothie now, and I've been on it for about a month and a half. So I get up, I make my smoothie early in the morning, and I turn on CNBC. The first thing I see, oh, by the way, I did get an email from somebody where Jim Cramer actually talked about the influence that the companies involved with the outdoors was having on retail. And
did he hit the buttons when he's like, outdoors?
No.
Ding dong.
No, that's his post-market show.
Fishing. Moo.
That's funny, though. But no, this morning, big news is Dick's Sporting Goods. Now, when's the last time you've been into a Dick's Sporting Goods, Matthew?
Before the pandemic.
How much fishing stuff did they have in there?
Very limited.
Very limited. All right. But the headline was Dick's Sporting Goods crushes Wall Street estimates on online sales surge of 194%.
Wow.
All right. Net sales increased 20.1% to $2.71 billion from $2.26 billion a year ago, beating expectations by $2.46 billion.
Wow.
All right, and the vast majority of the stuff that they said in the press release and then what they talked about on CNBC, consumers flocked to its website for hiking gear, kayaks, weights, workout clothes to stay busy during the coronavirus.
Yeah, they sell a lot of individual isolated sports stuff, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Running and golf.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I was shocked by that because they were really, really struggling. And we've mentioned this. There are so many companies. Yes, the dramatic effect, businesses going out of business as a result of the COVID-19. There have been some pockets that have truly benefited from this unfortunate situation that the country is going through. And to see that number and to see the amount of revenue that Dick's Sporting Goods generated during that second quarter is it's pretty surprising, but I think it solidifies the fact of what the consumers have been doing. You get the stimulus money, and obviously people wanted to make the best of what they could during this time.
You're getting ripped on for watching CNBC, Mark.
Am I really?
Yeah.
Well, I do teach economics. I mean, I
hear you.
I want to try and make sure that I can pass along my knowledge
I hear you.
to my students. I mean, geez. Besides, man, let me ask you this question. Does anybody out there know what 59 and a half means? What the age 59 and a half?
That's like full Medicare?
No. Let's see if anybody out there knows, some of my older fans out there.
That's where you qualify for Social Security?
No. You could take Social Security early if you want, but you don't get the full amount.
59 and a half?
59 and a half, man. It is a date that I cannot wait for.
I know it's something. Am I in the ballpark with that?
No. Am I really getting ripped for watching CNBC?
Just a couple guys. Medicaid?
No, that's
you
when
get
you can't
full retirement.
That's when you can't afford.
Do you get full
medical.
retirement?
No. Is anybody throwing it out there?
Food stamps?
Somebody's got it. 401k. What does it have to do with your 401? Time for Viagra. No, that's not.
Age should be able to withdraw from your IRA
without taking a 10% penalty.
Really?
Yeah. So when and I'm close. I'm just a little ways away. That will be a happy day for me.
56?
Me?
50, yeah.
I'll be 58.
Oh. I walked in and you were drilling your balls this morning.
I just put one hole and one ball, and they sent me the wrong drill bit.
I wish we could pan a camera
We
on
might
to see
do
this
that.
monstrosity of a drill press that you
It's
have.
a mill. It's not a drill press.
It looks like a giant drill press.
Yeah, it's in that
supersized,
category.
but you got the wrong
drill bit.
drill bit.
Yeah.
So you put your balls in a vise, and then
It's called a mill,
you put
or in a jig.
your ball in a jig,
Yeah.
and then you just all the way
You got to
down.
measure it out. You got to make sure you don't go at the wrong angle and all that. Anyway, so hey man, sorry you guys think less of me for watching CNBC, trying to make sure I take care of my money and take care of my econ.
I did some
students.
homework yesterday. Actually, I talked to a Elite Series Pro, and all I wanted to do was say, hey, you guys had to take the coronavirus tests. You had some restrictions up in New York, and then you ended up going to Detroit, and all this went down over a month. And I said, we really didn't hear much about it. We talked a lot about what potentially could happen going into it. He said, dude, it was super smooth, super easy. He said that after the first couple days, it was just, you kind of got used to it and got into the routine, and that everybody like kind of brought in on it. He said he was super impressed with how it was handled, from the testing to the government to the location changes to how the anglers and the organization handled it. He said it was just a non-issue at all.
Cool.
So I thought that was kind of cool to hear.
All right, man. Anything else? I know, man, this whole hurricane thing, yeah, it's a bad deal, obviously, for some people. I mean, they're starting evacuations in certain areas already. It's just, I was amazed, and you know that I'm a weather fan. I was amazed how quickly and how stronger this storm turned into in a matter of hours.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is massive now. Massive. So what do, Matthew? Do they obviously reschedule it? If they reschedule it, and when are they going to get it in? When you look at the schedule, it's pretty much jammed.
You know what? They're probably going to have it the week before the Elite Series starts in 2021.
Really?
No, I'm just kidding. No, they are. I mean, you might have...
It's jammed.
You might have a 3 event if they can't reschedule it. I mean, that would be a nightmare for me, being in 62nd in the points. I need more events to increase my average.
Yeah.
If you're in the top 10 in the points or top 20 in the points after one event,
Yeah.
you're hoping maybe they ran out of weeks.
I don't know, man.
I'm hopefully it doesn't get to that scenario. Hopefully it doesn't get to that scenario. Hopefully everyone is okay down there in that neck of the woods. I mean, they're in East Texas, obviously in Louisiana, they're used to it, right?
Yeah.
They know. I'm not used to it, but you know what to do, just like we are with our tornadoes here.
Yeah.
When you're in tornado out, you literally are like a block away from tornado.
I am in Tornado Alley. At one time, I was actually working at Bridge Creek, all right, living in Moore. Well, the world's fastest wind speed ever recorded was in Bridge Creek, Oklahoma. And then one of the worst F5 tornadoes ever to go through Oklahoma was in Moore, Oklahoma. So, yeah, dude, I'm all over it. And I don't have a storm shelter. What an idiot.
Is there any part of the country that doesn't have a risk for
something?
Like you have you got the earthquakes out west.
Yeah.
Well, pretty much anywhere. You've got hurricanes, tornadoes.
Yeah.
Is there a part of the country that's
New Mexico. What happens in New Mexico?
Do they get dust storms?
Yeah,
severe heat?
Well, yeah, of
course.
No,
New Mexico's a pretty safe place, I guess.
Utah?
Yeah.
Idaho?
Well, you're talking severe winters there. Blizzards, stuff like that.
Yeah. I think
wildfires in New Mexico.
You've got Taos, this big ski resort.
God, the country's a mess. You got the wildfires out in Northern California that I was really looking at, and man, that's a really sad deal that's going on out there. And then this hurricane. And
yeah. All right, man. Let's try and liven things up to a positive. Think positive, Matthew, and take some phone calls here on the Sunline Hotline. So we're going to take a break. Come back. We want to hear from the fans here on a Wednesday, wrapping up the week.
You want someone to call in now to get in the queue?
I already have somebody.
You already have someone in the queue.
Yeah. All right. Numbers there, folks. We want to talk to you.
What the heck? John Cox is younger than me?
Yeah.
Good Lord.
He's pretty good, too.
I didn't realize that.
He's got the hair working.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
He's got the Eastbound and he's got the Kenny Powers look.
Have you ever had long hair? You ever had the hockey hair?
Like a month ago. That's the longest that it's been. No, I was always the high and tight guy.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Coming back with the fans here on PTL. Everybody stay tuned.
The ultimate fishing system starts with Lowrance HDS Live. The best fish finding tools, from chirp sonar and fish reveal to side scan and down scan imaging, and complete touchscreen control from your trolling motor to your big motor.
We've paired one of the most iconic hulls in the history of bass boats with a proven lineup of trusted accessories. We're bringing you best-in-class value and performance, leaving others in your wake. Turnkey value, turnkey performance. The Pantera 2 is an overachiever in the 19-foot category. Once you hit the throttle, you'll feel the rush, and there's no looking back.
Kevin, what are you doing here?
Oh, I'm just filling in for Billy.
I need a 660 shad crankbaits in the Series 5 model.
We're out.
You're not out. You got all kinds of them right there.
We're out.
Kevin, I need 6.
Have a lollipop.
I do not want a lollipop.
Have a lollipop.
Do you have it in sexy shad color?
Let's face it, fishing electronics are no longer an afterthought. They've become a necessity. And at the Bass Tank, our experts match you with the right electronics, provide professional installation, and educate you to help maximize your catching results while providing support along the way. Because let's be honest, it's about catching, not just fishing. And when you're ready for better results, join the Bass Tank team. Visit us today on Facebook or go to thebasstank.com.
Hey everybody, Todd Faircloth here. Want to show you one of my favorite braided lines, SX1 30-pound Sunline braid. I use this braided line for a couple of different applications, and one of my favorites to use for this line is a swim jig. Casts great, and it's small diameter, and it just works really great on a swim jig. Another technique I like to use for 30-pound SX1 Sunline braid is whenever I'm flipping like a light, say an 1/8 to a 1/4 ounce weight in grass, small diameter, I don't lose much action on my worm, just works great in those scenarios. So if you're looking for a braided line for a swim jig or fishing a light Texas rig, check out Sunline's SX1 30-pound braid.
AFCO's new Uri performance shirts are made out of a new fabric. Aeromesh technology, Aeromesh fabric, really breathable. You know, it just doesn't stick to you whenever you're sweating. It's 105 in Florida. You know, you got sun beating down, there's hardly any wind. You know, your shirt won't stick to your back or anything like that. Any little breeze gets through it, and all the AFCO features that you like with the hood, not without a hood, depending on which one you like. It's got odor technology, so your pits don't stink whenever you're sweating. It has thumb loops. So whenever you're driving down the lake, 70 miles an hour in a bass boat, you got the thumb through here, sleeves won't roll up, so you have no excuse if you get sunburned. Any little breath of air gets through and cools you down, so make sure you check them out. Any fish, any water, any condition, AFCO has you covered.
All right, we are back on a Wednesday, closing out the week with the Sunline Hotline show. And hopefully the phone lines are working correctly, Matthew. You know, we tested them yesterday.
Did you see Steve Kennedy caught some salmon?
For really?
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
How big were they?
I don't know. He posted, he was like, I suck at salmon fishing. And then Mark Zoda gave him like some tips on Instagram. Then the next thing you know, he's holding a big salmon.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, man, let's go to the phones, take our first phone call. Who is this?
This is Josh.
Hey, Josh.
Butts from Springville, Alabama.
What's up, man? What's on your mind?
Oh, nothing. One thing is, Matt, I don't know if you remember me or not, but 2015 Bass Fest, they had the college series event on Barclay Lake, and a guy wanted this just rankedy bumblebee bass boat, like an old bass boat, and the cicada spawn was happening at the same time. It was just really crazy. And I was plugging my live well with a swim bait, and you did an article on me from, I think you had College Bass Zone at the time.
Yep.
And yeah, man. So I watch y'all show all the time, and I was like, man, I just want to call in and talk to Matt. And, you know, man, I wish you were at the championship right now, is where you should be. But it is what it is.
It is, yeah, it is. It is what it is. Yeah, I was actually talking. There's a lot of trickle down effect in that event, but hey, you got 50 guys competing for the $200,000 in the title, so one of those guys will get the championship belt.
Yeah, that's true. But another thing I wanted to point out was I've been listening to electronic shows and stuff, and I agree with having a bunch of like I'm an electronics guy. I love electronics. But here's the thing. Somebody pointed out to me the other day, what if it was like NASCAR? You know, all these people, all these NASCAR drivers and stuff, they have to have specified cars. They have to have all, and that's what makes the good racer from, you know, they have to race. So why not make bass, like, it's never probably going to happen, but why not a trail come out and make it like NASCAR, to where all our boats have to be all together, like have everything that every other bass boat has, like one graph up front, one graph in back. You can have your company sponsor you, like Lowrance or Garmin, but you have to have both of those. You know, you can have live scope up front too, but you have to have only one graph up front, one graph up back. I don't know, man. I just think that would be really cool. I mean, if let's say if you souped up a NASCAR car, it would win almost every race, right? Mm-hmm. And people would adapt to that in NASCAR. I understand that, but I just think it'd be really cool if they had like one graph apiece and go for it all, like a trail, like a Pro Series trail.
Yeah, I guess the closest thing that I could think just off the top of my head to that would be the ABA, which I'm fishing the Open Series this year, which has really been a great experience for me, not on the fish catching department, but just in the overall experience has been good. But they also have a 150 trail, and it limits the horsepower to 150. So if you have anything over 150, you cannot compete in that trail. It's called the ABA 150. Now, there's no limits on electronics or anything, but that's something that I think is a trail that is targeted towards entry-level tournament anglers who know that they can go to an event and not be competing against someone in a $100,000 bass boat. You know, even though it's not the boat that catches the fish, I think that that's kind of what that trail is geared for. And you can have fished a professional event in the past year or something like that on that trail too. But yeah, I mean, that'd be a great idea to have some unlimited.
Yeah. Another thing, one more thing I want to touch on. Do y'all think, you know, there's so much controversy from BPT, MLF, FOW, and then Bass. Do you think that Bass being on ESPN has tunneled in more people to the MLF, FLW series events, do you think that people that just like watch football or watch basketball and they watch fishing and they get intrigued and then they look, and then they start funneling into MLF, FLW? Do you think that's happening with the sport?
I guess the numbers, the objective numbers that Jeffries is on a quest to achieve would be the only way to really quantify it, to really figure out if new people are being brought in. Here's the test that I use, Josh. We're in this fishing world. We're in this fishing bubble. It's hard to associate with people that aren't in the fishing bubble. Take a sport that you have no affiliation with. You don't know anybody that's in it. You don't even know the rules. I'll use two for an example. One that kind of got me hooked and one that I just can't. Okay, like cricket. I watch cricket. I'll see cricket on TV. I can't get into cricket. I can't understand the rules with the wicket, and there's it hasn't been explained to me to where I want to get into following professional cricket. On the other hand, and I've talked about this in years past, the motocross, who I don't know anything. I've ridden a motorcycle one time in my life. It was like a moped, and I had a helmet on. But they had the Moto GP had a reality series that came out and stuff, and it was kind of like a Brandon Palaniuk or deal, except it was for the Moto GP side. And I got really into that and started following their seasons and stuff strictly because of that. So that was one that engaged me, that got me in. Now, I didn't buy any of this stuff. I didn't get into the sport, so it didn't cost any money, but that's it. You have to look at it from an outside perspective, and it's really hard to remove yourself from that. But I guess to me, you look at it and say, is what was on TV for the Elite Series, is that more than just a novelty to get people interested to come back? And then on the BPT and the cups and all that, are people scrolling through that station? Is it a novelty, or are they also doing something that might bring people back into it?
I got you. Well, I appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. Mark, stop getting so mad. You're going to need some blood pressure pills.
Well, that's why. Hey, my stress relief is this drill press, learning how to drill bowling balls. That's my stress relief, man.
Well, that's good. Well, thank you, guys. Hey,
right.
I'm a fan. Maybe we can get up and fish together, Matt. That'll be super cool, man.
Yeah, that sounds good. I think just Josh gets into Costa qualifiers and a shot at Jeffries and some valid questions. We're just gonna send you. So just shoot me your address, just email me matt@basszone.com with your address. I'll shoot you some BFEs.
Sweet, dude.
All right,
Appreciate
man. All right. Take care, man. All right. One small follow-up to that, Matthew, is you also have to take a look at the audience that was watching all the ESPN2 stuff, and take a look at the audience that was watching and has been watching Major League Fishing on the Discovery Channel. I think those are two different. You could have some crossover, but I think primarily it's two different type of demographics.
Okay, are the people watching ESPN2 that just have it on, are they more likely to be open to exploring the hobby of fishing, or are the people watching the Discovery Channel who happen to see it more open to discovering the wonderful world of bass fishing? What do you think? Which demographic is more susceptible to falling in love with the sport?
I don't know. I don't know. And I would be interested. It would be so cool to get somebody on the show, or even hear from somebody that has picked up the game as a result of what was being aired on both ESPN2 and the Discovery Channel.
How did your bowling buddy get into it?
Well, he saw it. I had mentioned that because I was in a tournament. They had every single monitor had the ESPN2 coverage on it, and I was getting bombarded by people wanting to know, hey, what are they doing? Hey, how much do they have to pay? We paid a measly $200. And I go, dude, They paid over $5,000. What?
No, I meant Chris. How did Chris get into it? Did he just see it and get
Well, he grew up in Florida. He loved to fish.
Oh,
he was
grew
around
up
it.
fishing.
Yeah, he was around it all the time. All right. But the point I'm trying to make is, do you have anybody like that? It was obvious most of the people that were watching ESPN2 had an interest either in the outdoors or sports or some type of competitive activity.
Okay, what's the goal? What's the goal, Mark? Is the goal
of what?
Okay. you're getting this in front of people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is your goal to get people who don't fish to go spend money on a Zebco 33 and worms and a bobber and get into fishing?
Yeah.
Is your goal to get people who casually fish to go out and buy a boat because they're like, I want to get back into it? Is your goal to get the people who already hardcore fish and familiarize them with Berkeley flatworms and 6XDs and lose rods and reels and all that stuff? I mean, what is
it's
the
a great question,
actual
man.
goal? Is it
It
to
is a
get
great
people
question.
into it? Is it to get people more into it? Is it to promote purchases? I mean, is there an advantage to the industry to raise awareness so more people know it exists if there's no financial impact associated with that awareness? Like, what's the ultimate goal?
Well, I think you just said it in the last statement that you made, the financial impact, because that's really, really what it comes down to is the amount of revenue that can be generated by the exposure that's created by being either on the Discovery Channel or on ESPN2. It's all about revenue. All right. If you grow the sport, as everybody says, which you and everybody else is tired of that term, but if you have more people getting involved in the game, the revenue should increase. All right? That's for the endemics. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to do one of two things. Either impress and impose your brand to somebody that may not be aware of your brand, or you are trying to convert somebody from one brand to another brand. Whatever the result is, revenue is generated. Right? And dude, that's really what it comes down to. You know, there have been numerous people post on the comments and on the instant feedback. It's all about money. It really is. In every aspect that you look at it, it's about revenue. All right? And the more revenue that these companies can make, the better off the industry is going to be, because the more money that's generated, the more revenue that they can put back into the game. Does that make sense?
100%. The hotline number is 405-253-5543.
All right, we have somebody on. Hey, who is this? You there?
Hey, this is Matt. Yeah, you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, Matt.
What's up,
Where are you calling from, Matt?
Hey, I'm in East Tennessee. I'm going to follow it.
East Tennessee.
All right, man. What's up?
I thought about this the other day. I remember y'all was talking about spinning out on the water, having a breakdown or a meltdown on the water. And I was waiting for Matt to say it, or one of y'all to say it, and I kept waiting, and it never came. But I think the best meltdown on the water had to have been Randy Haynes out there on Kentucky Lake with Jason Lambert. Y'all remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm taking it to the house.
Yeah.
I think, you talk about spinning out. I think that's about as bad as it gets.
Yeah, that's a great one. That really is a good one. And first time I'd ever seen that. How about you, Matt?
Well, yeah, he's fishing for $100 at the tournament, and he put it on the trailer and went home. I wouldn't
You're dead
say
on.
Would you call that that's either one extreme or the other. It's either the greatest meltdown of all time, or like the biggest pair in the league move. You see what I'm saying? Like, he didn't technically have a meltdown.
But he did.
But he did.
Yeah.
But didn't you say you talked to him and he said he left so he didn't have a meltdown?
He didn't want to say anything because of the emotion that he was feeling.
Meaning he wanted to evacuate from the situation to prevent a meltdown from happening.
But the meltdown still took place.
Yeah.
It just wasn't in the public
Okay,
eyes.
it was all okay. I agree. I agree with you 100%, Matt.
Yeah.
I will say it is the classiest total meltdown in bass fishing history.
Agree.
Well, I mean, did you see him on the water? I mean, if you see the footage of him, I mean, he's got his hand on his head and he's just losing his mind, it looks like, I mean, he can't handle it, it seems like. And I mean, I guess he did the right thing to get out of there before he, I guess if he was really going to have a meltdown, I'd have hate to see what it looked like.
Classiest meltdown.
I agree.
Because most of the meltdowns aren't very classy.
Yeah, that's good stuff, though, man. I appreciate you bringing that
point.
up, Matt.
Yeah, no problem. One more little thing, and this doesn't have anything to do with what's going on right now, but I usually don't get to listen live. I'm an electrician, and I'm in and out of these plants, so I usually have to listen to it on YouTube after the fact. But this has been on my mind for a year, and I want to get y'all's opinion. On the Major League Fishing, I don't know if you recall this, it was in 2019 on Smith Lake, I believe. Brandon Polnick and Scott Suggs tied for the 20th place spot to get into the elimination round. And I think they give it to Brandon Polnick because he had 28 fish. Scott Suggs had 27 fish. And in my head, I'm thinking if Scott Suggs had 27 fish, that means his fish were bigger than Brandon Polnick. So it almost seems to me like Scott Suggs should have got he had the bigger fish, obviously. I mean, if you have 28 versus 27, he's got the bigger fish.
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
what
I
the
remember.
tiebreaker was.
Yeah, I remember that scenario because I remember talking about it, and it's just a rules, man. Every division has rules. Some go live fish, some go number of fish, some go bigger fish. Like in the Bass Nation, we have like you weigh your biggest fish because that's like one of the tiebreakers. I think that they just decided that they would go, and that was the first year of the BPT, and they were really talking about the every fish counts format, and it was only a 1 pound, and I think they were really focused on highlighting the numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm going to do,
Yeah,
Matt?
I agree with you.
Matt, you know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to make contact with my contact at MLF and see if I can get a clarification on the tiebreaker. See if that's changed. See if it's still the same. And then if you shoot me your email, man, I will get back with you.
Yeah, 10-4. I'll shoot you my email. That's just something, whenever it happened, and don't get me wrong, I mean, Brandon Polnick come out on top, and I'm a big Brandon Polnick fan, but I just, in my head, I'm thinking, bass fishing in a tournament, you're going for bigger weight, you want to catch bigger fish, and you give it to a guy that's caught a bigger number of fish, but the guy obviously who caught the smaller number of fish had bigger fish. But I understand the rules are the rules, and they're planned out before the tournament. So I mean, it goes that way.
Let me point this out, Matt. Now, if I remember correctly, it might even be FLWM bass. Let's say there's a tie for a cut or for a money, and one guy's got 20 pounds with 9 fish, and one guy's got 20 pounds with 10 fish. I think the guy with more fish wins that tiebreaker. I think that's one of the first tiebreakers, even in a 5-fish format.
Okay. Well, that's just something that's been on my mind for a long time, and I thought if I ever call in, I'm going to bring that up real quick, and there you have it.
I know it is. It was in college bass, because in 2007, in the national championship, we tied for second with like Mississippi State or something like that. Mm-hmm. But we only had 3 fish that day. Mississippi State had 4 fish. They beat us.
Okay.
We ended up finishing 3rd. So that was even in a 5-fish format. They go with more keeper bites.
Yeah. All right, Matt, send me your email. I will get back to you. Greatly appreciate your call, man.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. I love the show.
All right. Thanks, man. Take care.
Bye.
All right. Interesting stuff right there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you recall that? I don't remember it.
Vaguely.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the one that Dino won, I think.
2019.
Yeah. He won that one on Smith,
Yeah.
didn't he?
Yeah. Yep. All right. Let's go back to the phones. Hey, who is this?
Hey, this is Maynard.
Maynard, how are you, man?
Good. Good. I need to clarify something with Matt.
All right, hit me with it, Maynard.
All right, you need to get those Floyd's buzzers off your shelf like Bernie said.
He's grabbing them right now, Maynard.
But they're so cool looking.
Well, I'm going to tell you the story about those. Bernie told you that maybe you cut the weed guard off of it a little bit, shorten it up. I never have shortened the weed guard, but you can do that. But one of the things you may want to use, if you can get by with it sometime, you may want to use a trailer hook on it.
It's a good idea, Maynard. These
and
things
then the
have
other
to
thing,
be
I want
what?
to give you the whole story on that deal.
Okay.
That Floyd's buzzer was made by a guy by the name of Pat Floyd in Royal Center, Indiana, which is right north of Logansport. And the Hildebrandt Company was in Logansport. And Pat Floyd was a worker at Chrysler in Kokomo, Indiana. And he developed the Floyd's buzzer and tested it on a lot of fishing around Royal Center, around Fletcher Lake. But we had, the way the buzzer finally got its notoriety, we had a state championship guy by the name of John Rawlings, who signed up to fish the Bass Open or whatever on Cordell Hall down in Tennessee. And that was one of the same places where the Big O originated.
Fred Young.
And the name of the buzzer finally got around with down there. And Rick Clunn was one of the people that picked it up. And if you go back in your research, you'll find out that Rick Clunn won a classic on Lake Toho, just beat out Larry Nixon because of a fish he caught on the Floyd's buzzer. And also, one of the things I want to tell you about that, the bait that you're holding in your hand right now is a little bit easier to throw because the bucktail gets wet, and it makes it easier to cast. But the other one's a lot easier. The one with the vinyl skirt is a lot easier to get up on top of the water when you start to throw it because it's not as heavy.
Okay. So what's the magic in here? Is the magic in the blade? Is the magic in the bucktail? Is the magic in the fact that the blade and the bucktail are not one piece like a buzzbait and it's more in line? What makes it the deal?
The magic is in the sound that the blade makes. And you can make different sounds. You can make different sounds with the blade. I lost your hearing for some reason.
I got you. You got me?
Are you there?
Yeah, we got you.
Yeah. You can make different sounds with the blades by taking your fingers and bending the blades a little bit. You can make it a louder or deeper sound. And like Bernie was telling you too, you can fish this over the top of like flooded grass, like around water willows.
Yeah.
Or like, let's say you're fishing a rock riprap, just fish it parallel to the riprap. But one of the things, you're not going to be able to fish it in high or deep waves. I mean, you got to have the reasonable water that you would throw a top water on. But as soon as you make the cast and the bait hits the water, you hold your rod tip up and you start reeling right away, and it comes up on top. And then you just reel it right across the top of the water. You can reel across logs, whatever, lily pads, as long as they're not too high. If the lily pads are real high, then you get the thing caught in the crotch of the lily pad and you get hung up, even though it's got the weed guards on it. And I think where Pat Floyd got his idea to do this, and I've been to his shop before he passed away, and I think where he got the idea to do this was from the Hildebrandt Snagless Alley.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think he came up with adding the blade to it rather than having the rest back there from the Sagless Alley. Now, the other thing about that deal, I told you about the Cordell Hall tournament where it was introduced down there. Somebody packed it away and put it in a safe to keep it away from whatever. But all of a sudden, one of the got to Bass Pro Shops and Johnny Morris. And Johnny Morris all of a sudden came out with one called, as Bernie told you, called, I was going to tell you what the name of it is, Uncle Buck's Buzzer.
Yep.
And the Pat Floyd couldn't come out with a lawsuit because he didn't have that kind of a money, being a factory worker and doing whatever to do a patent on it.
Huh.
But you take it and throw it, and Bernie said he didn't have any or whatever, but I tell you what, I just went out and checked my supply, and I got about 12 and a half of them, so if you do real good on it, I might sell you one real cheap.
Well, I'll tell you what, Maynard, these will not go back on the shelf. These are going to go, I'm going to tie one on, and like I said, I do the YouTube stuff. I got that open, hopefully, fingers crossed, coming up on Rayburn. Rayburn has Paz, Rayburn has bank grass. I'm going to throw this thing down there in the open. I think it would be cool if I could somehow, on the final day, be throwing a Floyd's buzzer in the Bassmaster Open in 2020.
You talk some of the old timers like that about, and you'll find out that it's not a joke.
I will put it in the tackle box now.
Very nice.
I just didn't want to use them.
You go out there to your jackpot tournament and you start throwing it around and see how it works before you condone it.
Oh, I've never made it. It's a historic bait. I mean, I researched it after everything you said. I don't want to ruin a piece of history.
I heard you yesterday when you said you went out and bought some buzzers, so make sure you try these before you give up on it.
I got them right here. Thank you, Maynard.
I'll let you guys go.
All right.
Good luck
Maynard.
with it.
Thank you.
All right. Good stuff from Maynard. Yeah, man. Don't lose that.
Well, it's a buzz bait. How often do you lose buzz? I can remember.
Not very often.
I remember one buzzbait that I lost on a. It was like there's a cow pasture fence going across the back of this shallow. It was actually at Thunderbird, and I freaking wrapped that buzzbait around the top of the barbed wire, and I couldn't get up there, and it was like mud, and I got out and I sunk in it. I'm still upset about it.
Really?
That was years ago. It was my favorite buzzbait. Like my favorite buzzbait.
Gone.
Just and here's the thing, it was like tantalizingly close. Like you could see it.
Really?
Yeah.
Hey, real quick, there was somebody on the YouTube feed, the Baitman TV. If you would,
yeah. He knows his stuff.
He does. Will you do me a favor? Will you send me an email with your contact info? Because I want to reach out to you about something. Just shoot me an email, mark@basszone.com, and I will be in touch.
He's on here to talk about buzzbaits because I mentioned that yesterday.
Really?
There's nothing wrong with throwing in a little bait talk. An open
No,
mic.
heck no. All right, let's go back to the phones. Hey, who is this?
Hey, this is Jason in Deatsville, Alabama.
Jason, how are you, man? What's on your mind?
Hey, pretty good. I was just thinking, with all the craziness in the world, and I want to get your guys' thoughts on it. With the Bassmaster Classic almost being canceled this year, and with it, no end in sight to this pandemic, do you think Bass has two plans to do the next Bassmaster Classic, or are they just going to plan for pandemic or something like that? Or are they going to go ahead and plan for the huge expo?
Well, I would say knowing Eric Lopez, knowing Bruce Aiken, yes, there is a contingency plan in place. They had contingency plans in place for the New York swing. They did a fantastic job. Being the Bassmaster Classic, we talked earlier about revenue and how much money. That is probably one of the most important events from a revenue standpoint. Is that event from a show standpoint, from a visibility standpoint, from a sponsor standpoint, to where the anglers, the sponsors, everybody involved, that is an important revenue stream that I don't know if that organization could afford to take that much of a hit. Now, obviously, do they have reserves? Yeah, they have reserves. But the biggest thing is I think no matter what, the event will take place. Even if there isn't any fans or reduced fans, all right, it all depends on how the COVID-19 situation is going to play out. Right now in Texas, and in that county, and the only reason I know this is because Steve Wunderlich, who's been on this show, owns a bowling center in Fort Worth, in Cowtown, right down the street from where all the festivities are going to take place. And they have massive restrictions right now. They're open, but they have a tremendous amount of restrictions from a social distancing situation. You have to bowl with mask on. They're only allowed to have X number of people in the bowling center. So unless things get better, I understand it's only August, but we were kind of saying this same thing in March. If things do not get better, my prediction would be, yes, the event's going to take place and they would not have the outdoor show and everything would be streamed live. But I think no matter what, I think the event will take place unless there's just a massive outbreak and the city of Fort Worth and the city of, I forget what city where Ray Roberts is. You remember what the city was? Unless they
Dallas
say
area.
They shut it down and go, nope, we're not having it. Then for the first time, and we'll have to get Ken Duke on this, I don't know if the Classic's ever been postponed or rescheduled.
I've
or
had
moved
2 in a year before. That's
or
it.
something like that. I know that, but that's something that I have no idea what the contingency plan is. It would be nice to know that one of those contingency plans is to reschedule if they can't have it. And because the fans are such an important part of that event. What are your thoughts, Matt?
I agree.
Anything to add to that?
No, that's literally all you could say there.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got it handled. I mean, Eric Lopez has done the Olympics before. He's got a contingency plan for the Classic.
Exactly.
And I guess the reason why I thought about it is because of the stuff you guys brought up yesterday about the opens going all the way up into December.
Yeah.
You know, these guys having to plan for maybe making the elites or whatever, and hopefully, Matt, you make it. It was just a thought. I was like, holy cow, you know, like last year it almost got canceled, and then it might get canceled this year because of the craziness in the world. So
yeah, it might.
Just thoughts.
Yeah, we all appreciate your call, Jason.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys.
Take care,
Enjoy
man.
the show.
All right, thanks.
Yep.
That's a good question. Dude, I'll bring this up. Tightlines likes to ask a lot of interesting questions regarding FLW and MLF, and he said, I'm interested how these guys have avoided the subject of the 100K mysteriously going missing from the FLW Angler of the Year purse. Dude, I went back and I read the rules. You know, Rod Nelson got his entry fees paid for. We had him on the show. It just didn't come up. And hey, Ron, you didn't get the $100,000. You got your entry fees paid for. What do you think about that, buddy? Like, what's he going to say to that?
Exactly.
He's fishing the title right now. It didn't make sense.
Yeah.
If you go back and you read the rules, they signed up without $100,000 for the Angler of the Year. It's not like mid-year it disappeared. It literally says in the rules that the Angler of the Year prize to be determined will be announced at a later date. They could have given him a goldfish in a plastic bag and they would 100% been within the rules. It goes back to, like I said, a true like angler union like that could have said, you could have gotten all those guys together, but like, listen, like we need to know what we're fishing here before we sign this stuff. But you had the 150 guys who signed up for it knowing that there was that line in the rules that said Angler of the Year prize to be determined. In past years, guess what it said? $100,000 for first place.
Yeah.
Didn't say that this year. So, I mean, it's really a non-issue. They could have done whatever the hell they wanted to.
Yeah.
There's stuff in the Bass rule book that literally says, like, Bass can do whatever they want to for anything. Letting people in, kicking people out. They could do whatever they want to. It's a private organization. They basically null and voids everything else that's before if they decide they want to do that.
Yeah.
If The Rock decides he wants to fish at an Elite Series event, they could make a pro wrestling exception.
Yeah.
They could do whatever they want.
Yeah.
But in this case, I thought it was worth bringing up. It never said 100K when they started the year. Everyone just assumed it because that's how it's been. As we've come to learn, assumptions are poor to do in the past year and a half in the world of professional bass fishing.
It's a good point, Matthew. Good point. And I think you bring up another great point about that was not the time to bring it up to Ron Nelson.
Yeah.
I mean, he's right in the middle, right in the heat of battle. Right. It was very generous of him to even take part of his day off to kind of, explain his day one and kind of summarize his year. So good points there, Matt. All right, let's go back to the phones. Hey, you're on. Who is this?
Hey, this is Rusty from Missouri.
Rusty, how are you, man? What's on your mind?
Hey, I'm doing good. I just want to give you guys a shout out. I was recently on researching some more stuff on your guys' website, and I forgot all about them going deep articles. I mean, I really love the Bob Hamilton one, and the Going Ike was excellent too.
Oh, the 20 feet deep. Do you guys have
any more plans?
20 feet deep.
Yeah. Do you guys have any more plans for doing any kind of, I guess, what do they call them, little...
documentaries?
Biographies and documentaries on people?
Yeah, I would love... There is one that I have been working on for well over 2 years, and I continually have roadblocks, and I just can't get it. It took me a long time to research and do the Robert Hamilton one, and Matt helped out a tremendous amount on that one. And I think I reported just kind of an update that, he's back in prison. If you haven't watched the 20 Feet Deep, he was sentenced to 5 years in the Mississippi Penitentiary. And I've tried to set up an interview with him through the Mississippi prison system, and I have failed at trying to get that done because I wanted to do a follow-up to that documentary while he is incarcerated in the Missouri prison system. So that's kind of Mississippi, not Missouri.
Didn't they get Johnny Cash into that prison?
I don't know. I don't know. But is there a plan? Yes, I can tell you I've been working on one for over 2 years. The thing about it is it takes an enormous amount of time. It takes money. And the commitment that you have to do to get one of those done is you really have to focus about 80, 90% of your time on doing those documentaries. There's two that we want to do. All right. But it's a matter of time, money, and trying to put the thing together with the roadblocks that we continually have. I will tell you this, the one, and Matt knows what we're talking about, and I don't want to say anything about it, but if I was able to do this documentary, it was about a situation that I believe this is actually the 20-year anniversary of it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was 20 years ago. If I could get cooperation from...
You got 5% chance.
Yeah, of the individual...
2% chance.
It would be probably the most viewed documentary that's ever been done in bass fishing. But it's a long shot. It's a long shot.
And I've got... I mean, honestly, for me, it comes down to... So I took the lead mainly on the Steve Kennedy one and the Gunnersville effect.
Mm-hmm.
And after doing those, like, man, I'm at a point in my life, like, I didn't make any money on those.
Yeah, we made zero money. I mean, we did that all on our dime.
That was literally hundreds of hours.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, I love both of them. The Steve Kennedy one was good, too, because it talks about real life, what real anglers go through, and, the ups and the downs. I mean, Steve Kennedy doing it all on his own, and the ups and downs, the tribulations of Mr. Hamilton. I mean, you guys done excellent work on that. I just want to give you guys a shout-out on that. I really enjoyed them.
Thank you, Russ.
I was sitting here and binged on them yesterday evening, and I was like, can't believe I watched every one of them.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, yes, we want to continue the series, but now it's just a matter of time and money.
All right.
All right.
Well, I appreciate you, and I enjoy you every day you're on.
All right, man. Thanks for listening.
Hey, thank you.
All right, see you.
Bye-bye.
Hey, man, those documentaries are fun to do, but, man, you are dead on. They take so much time. So much time. The effort and the amount of money that is spent on doing those documentaries. Hey, if there's a company out there that wants to step up and sponsor the whole thing, hey, I'm all for it. Because the two that we're thinking about that we've been kind of working on would be really, really good. But Matt says, you got about a 2% chance on that one.
On yours, I think I got about a 50% chance.
Yeah, I would agree with that. All right, let's go back to the phones. Hey, who is this? Hey, you're on BTL. Who is this?
Hey, guys, this is William. How are you?
Doing good, man. Where are you calling from?
South Carolina.
All right, man. What's on your mind?
I sent you well, I got a couple topics here. I'm going to try to be quick so I don't burn up your clock here. But this is William. I sent you guys, Matt and Mark sent you an email last night about electronics. I don't know if you had a chance to see it, but I think it'll spark some interesting thought there. So a couple topics you guys brought up today actually hit home with me, which is why I'm calling. So I've been in the tech industry for about 20 years, and this is important because I'm in a side that relates to the electronics, but doesn't necessarily directly deal with them. However, keep that in mind. In 2016 is when I truly got into fishing. I've always fished, but it's been that with your brothers, your grandpa, with family, night fishing, crappie, catfish. We do a little bass fishing here and there, but I grew up in mainly a hunting family. Had guides in the family, turkey, deer, land-based, but, a little bit of waterfowl, et cetera. About 2016, I had a change in my life. Long story short, I went out with one of my brothers, and we just smashed them that day. Well, that resulted in, by the end of March, I had bought a fiberglass bass boat, rigged it out with full electronics, gear, everything. I mean, I was hooked. Part of what hooked me there also, to some degree, was MLF. Not because of the tournament side of it, but just it was driving my desire of what I was experiencing at that time, watching them on TV. So that being said, my history in technology and just similar to you, Mark, and economics, I love statistics, so I can relate to you, Matt. All of that in play, I'm starting, if you think back to 2016, I'm starting to come into this unknown, this world. I'm like, wow, I didn't even realize all of this competitive stuff was out here fishing. I'm competitive by nature. I'm in sales. I have to compete for my check every month, right? I mean, I'm commission based. So when they say live and die on the water, I live and die basically on the phone and in customers' faces every day in technology. And you know how fast technology changes. So all that being said, Matt, back to your point, what audience, who are they going after? And I think that's a very awesome question, because while MLF isn't driving me to the tournament, it was driving my desire that I already had to get on the water, that I was exploring and opening that door more than I had known in the past. I could tell you everything about hunting, et cetera, camping, whatnot, but I didn't know as much about fishing. So I think that's where MLF has the advantage for the newer person, the upcoming, that younger YouTuber, that your attention span is here for just a live event and gone versus the stage. Don't get me wrong. I have now competed in bass tournaments. I have a feel for that. I enjoy it. I have a career and a family, so I can't do that full time kind of thing. But I believe now, 4 years later, I can relate being that newbie coming in. And then back to the economic side of that, I can also relate to MLF and bass and what I would say would be the survival or one that wouldn't survive. But knowing what I experienced and the corporate world that I work in, I work for S&P company, let's just say that, a very large company, and I am in front of large corporations, and I meet tons of people all the time, and I tend to bring this fishing conversation up just either at dinners or, in small talk, and I find it interesting the feedback I get from all ages and all different, walks of life. One common theme is they have no clue who bass is, but they have heard, seen, or know a family member that has talked about MLF. And generally speaking, it's the younger crowd that is, has come over for, meeting family or whatever for the weekend and gets them introduced throughout the family hierarchy. But MLF comes up probably 80% more when I'm at a round table and I've got all age groups there. I find that very interesting. So from that statistic, I think they are hitting a different market, but they're also gaining a younger market who likes that action and that versus that, watching somebody try to catch 5 on a slower day, you tend not to keep their attention span. And that's the world we live in. You either got to keep their attention or you don't.
All right.
And then speaking of statistics, you may stop there. I got
no, keep going.
To mention for you.
I was just wondering.
Right.
So it sounds to me, based on your first point, before we lose that, would you say that if it wasn't for MLF, you would not have purchased a boat and thousands of dollars worth of tackle? Was that a direct correlation with
No, No, I was already going down that path.
Okay.
But it inspired me. It drove me. It really was help keeping me not really, I would say motivated, but it was when if I'd only fish on Saturday, now it drive me like, man, I'm going back out there on Sunday, on my weekend. When I would see that come home from fishing Saturday, watch my DVR from the Saturday event on Discovery, man, I'm going to do this again. So it was helping motivate from that respect, just because I do like to watch competitive sports like an ESPN or et cetera. So, and I could deep dive more there if you wanted, but hopefully that answers your question.
No, it's good. Okay. Next point. Sorry. Didn't mean to derail you.
Yeah. No, it's all right. And a question for you, Matt. So, in the 50 states, let's say, on average, how many tournament anglers do you think we have per state?
I mean, you could get those numbers. I think it drastically is disproportionate in the Southeast and the South. I mean, Mark, you would have a better guesstimate on this. Let's just say Oklahoma. Club members, serious guys, XFLs, Nichols, BFLs.
Geez, maybe 8,500.
Okay, so I'm in the money. So maybe. I was thinking, and Mark, I can barely hear you for some reason. Matt, sorry. I can hear you great. I was estimating 10,000 per state, right? That's just what I was throwing out again. I don't know a lot about that kind of data, but if you think about that, times 50 states, you got about 500,000 people in your audience, really, at the end of the day. That's roughly the number, give or take, what bass is always kind of exaggerating or using that as a marketing ploy. We got 500,000 members. I'm a bass member. Don't get me wrong. I'm not negative comments for them. Mm-hmm. But if that's what it is, it's really going to be hard, I think, for them to continue that membership and or additional growth there. If you compare that to the overall market, we sell in the U.S. about 49 million licenses, fishing licenses nationwide. So if you 500,000 of 49 million is such a small pie from a marketing perspective. So, and I'm kind of one of those guys. I will fish a BFL every now and then, but I'm really following that 49 million group, not that 500K, because I'm not hitting every one of them that I can. I mean, I have a family and bills and whatnot to pay. So, I just found that interesting when you think about it from my perspective. New guy coming in, I consider myself that one they're trying to market at, just because I really hit this market just in 2016, and they could move me. I'm one of those that could have jumped either way and whatnot. And I think I want to touch on that. I believe that's why this fishing market is so volatile, is because it is paid to play, in the sense of you pay your entry to get paid, versus being what I believe MLF is trying to achieve, which is a more professional sport where you're not fishing for your own money, and therefore you're not swayed, in essence, to sell a bait. You're there to play a game. A baseball player doesn't go out and say, this Louisville bat, I mean, you got to get one of these in this brown color. It just, the game is played different, and I think that's where it's going to hurt bass long term, particularly over the longer game, because of these. When I say younger, I don't mean, I like teenager and older coming in, particularly with like the YouTubes. The marketing is there versus, I believe, with the guy saying, I caught this on a KVD 1.5. That's just me. I'm a little bit older generation here. But the last point I wanted to make was on the electronic side of that. Being from the technology world, in tech, generally there's two plays. You're either going after profit or you're going after market share. And that's generally because technology changes so often. And if you think about that from an economic standpoint, and then you look at the companies that are competing, and I'll call out Garmin here specifically, they have the most diversified portfolio. What industries they're in? They're in almost every sport and even non-sports related areas. If you look at Humminbird and you look at Lowrance, they're not really that diversified in other areas. They're a very top heavy company. Now, I know Humminbird, they're into I think they have kayaks, and they've got some other few areas, I think a handful. But just from an overall scale and a market share perspective, I think that's important, a piece of why that's being driven. When you have someone like Garmin that has such a broad reach, and they've got all those dollars that they can pump into something, they can really disrupt the market, and then therefore pull big heavy names in by paying them big dollars, which is then going to sway the market share. You know what I mean? It can really just change the game and keeps it in this very volatile market. That kind of goes back to that the guy's question earlier about the NASCAR-based or NASCAR-esque platform. And that, I think that would be good, but that would cut out some of this, big sways back and forth, in my opinion. And then in the electronic side of it, I think yesterday you guys were talking about the cost of the items. At the end of the day, the components and whatnot are in there very cheap, very, very cheap. The expense of them is because they don't turn them that often. I think if those guys would mirror a little more of the real technology market, and turn more of those products at a lesser price, because really at the end of the day, for those, you're buying software, and you really don't own the software. I don't know if anybody's ever read the fine print. It's just like buying a PC or a tablet. You own that hardware, but you don't own the software that's on it. That's why you can't remove that software and put it on another device. And it's basically, for the most part, similar to our electronics on our boat. But what's interesting is you can run those same devices without those electronics. And that's a whole nother conversation. But, $3,000, $4,000 for a unit, I think is a bit high. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's basically a mini PC with a few extra items in it. And if you think a gamer, I don't know if anybody or you guys know have kids that game or friends or whatnot.
It's expensive.
It's basically it is, but really at the end of the day, all you're paying for is computing power and processing power, video power, right? And that's really what you're paying for on your graph, less video, because it really is not as, it doesn't compute. I don't want to get too technical here, but it's a high-end PC with, a quad processor, and that's really about it. It doesn't have a lot of memory at the end of the day. So it's all the software you're paying for. And then why are you paying that much for it? It's because they're not turning that hardware enough. Most, and again, go back to that 500,000 versus that 49 million. How many units are they selling? And I know how many they're selling. I have that data because, again, I'm in the tech world and I get that industry data. And it's not as many as you would think. And in order to comp those lake maps and all that software engineers, essentially is what we're paying for. But I do think they miss an opportunity within the fishing market. But I do think like Lowrance with some of their hook units, with them focusing more on the low end, following kind of that newer crowd, I think they're onto something there. But I don't think they're as very diversified. And then I'll close with this. Mark, love the 20 feet deep, and Matt, I'm a documentary junkie, so those are awesome. And I'll leave you with one last question. Have you guys seen and what do you think on the H2H, the head-to-head fishing? And are you guys still you're going to be doing any one-on-one? And I guess I'll stop talking there.
Good.
All right,
good comment.
Good stuff there. The one-on-one stuff, we did that in the beginning. Once again, it's a time and money factor. Time allocation to be able to do that with everything that I have going on and everything that Matt has going on.
That's the reality. It got to the point where I was like, listen, if I'm going to stand back there
Yeah.
for 4 hours, hold a camera, be responsible when the live stream doesn't work, and Jeffrey's just going, you need to fix it. And I'm going, it's not my problem. I said, I need X amount of dollars to stand back there and do that.
Yeah, I mean, we did that once again all on our own dime because we wanted to, showcase what we can do, all the equipment that it took to do that. I mean, I bought on my dime.
Could it come back? Absolutely. It would have to be right to do it. Now, I have seen the head-to-head fishing. I believe it's up there up north where they're doing walleye, and they've done bass, and they have numerous tournaments and stuff. I've actually watched a little of it before the show with the commentators. Dude, I like it. It's
cool
great stuff. They've got it freaking dialed in. They've got, Jeffries and I'll sit there and say, man, they're spending a lot of money doing this. Don't you think?
Yeah, oh yeah.
With all that they're doing it. But yeah, the head-to-head stuff with the way that they've got the split screens, and I think they've got three one-on-ones going on at the same time, and they're switching between six.
It's impressive.
Got
it really
the brackets. Nothing but love for them. The other thing, and like you talked about, William, I think it's interesting. If you're a tournament fisherman, let's say you go to an XFL, everybody's got a 2018, 2019, 2020 boat, a big truck, 12 to 16-inch graphs, everything. You get this skewed perception that everybody who's fishing buys this stuff. And I realize this because I go back to Illinois and hang out with the guys in the club and stuff. You're talking normal boats, 18.5-foot boats. You're talking normal graphs, 7 to 9-inch graphs. I mean, really think about it. When you are traveling, not to a tournament where there's a bunch of other tournament boats around, but you're traveling, how many high-end bass boats do you see on the road? One?
Not
two?
really.
Like, I'm always like, oh, who is that? When I see one and it's not around a tournament.
Good point.
And then you talk to Rick at Basscat or the guys at Skeeter or anything, like a high-end 2020 Basscat Lynx decked out. There's like a couple hundred of them out there?
Yeah.
500, 600. I mean, I don't know the exact number. It's less than thousands and thousands of. There's not that many of them out there every year. Like, I just
the total market
assume
for the boats in like 5,000 units a year, roughly somewhere in there.
Yeah, it's not that
8,000.
It's not that many. I mean, we had Rick Pierce on, the main guy at Basscat. He's been in the game for a zillion years. He talked about those numbers, and it is a very, very competitive market, and both of you are correct.
Yep.
There are a limited number of units produced, and man, you bring up a great point, man. I always, if I'm going this way and I see a truck and boat
Who is
the
that?
opposite. Who is that?
Yeah.
You know?
Anyway,
You're right.
great call, William. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Take
All
care.
right. See ya.
Do you want to go rapid fire? What time you got to go
Yeah.
to school? It's 9:50 already.
Yeah, we got about 10, 15
You want to go
minutes
rapid
left.
fire? Because Bateman said that this is the hardest phone line ever to get through, and it's easier to call in after the Vols lose to a Knoxville radio station.
Hey, man, the phone lines have been
Well,
blowing
that's
up. I'm
because
sorry.
you have to call in after every game for the last 5 or 6 years.
All right, so let's try and go quick comments here, and we'll do that. Hey, real quick, I do want to add this. This whole graph thing, it falls back on supply and demand. As long as the consumers are willing to pay what they're paying and they're getting the results that they are happy to get, they're not going to drop the price. All right?
No, I'm
They're
still
not.
willing to pay $3,500 to put a HDS 12 in the console because I know it'll get me where I want to go and show me what I need to see.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the phones. Hey, who is this? You're on BTL.
Hello?
Yeah, who is this?
Hey, this is Stephen Walden.
Hey, what's up, man? What's on your mind? Where are you calling from?
Stetson?
Hey, what's going
Did you
on?
say Stetson?
Stephen.
Oh, Stephen. Okay.
Where are you calling from?
Yeah. I work with you guys at Bass University.
Oh, okay. What's up,
big
man?
guy with the red beard.
What's up?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a question. Have you guys ever considered doing, I know y'all said y'all slowed up with the 20 feet deep stuff because of the cost of what it costs to do it, but I was I'm a part of a black anglers bass club, and I had a younger angler ask me, is this only like a black person only bass club? And then I had to go into the history and explanation of why we even have black bass clubs. Have you ever considered about segregation in professional bass fishing and getting some of the older black anglers to try to interview those guys and do kind of like a little backstory history on why we even kind of like why we have HBCUs, the same reason why we have black bass clubs. Have you ever considered that?
No, I haven't. As far as that, now, one of the you're gonna give away a 20 feet deep idea. One of the 20 feet deep ideas that a lot of people have brought up is Alfred Williams.
Yeah.
And that guy is highly respected in the industry behind the scenes for Rojas, all the guys with the frog and what he's done. But as far as the history of black anglers in bass fishing, do you know of anything that's been done like that?
I don't think anything's been done. Obviously, that would be a can-do question.
Yeah.
But I think obviously with the situation taking place where there have been black anglers that have had a tremendous amount of success in this game, to go back and really capture the history of what it was like, what it's been like, what is it like now, would make for a great 20 feet deep.
The only time that I remember it being brought up at the Bassmaster Classic and one of the one that was in Knoxville, Tennessee, when MDJ had a chance to win it. Was it John Johnson or one of the guys said, "Hey, you're sitting in second place right there with the chance to become the first African American in history to win the Bassmaster Classic. Have you thought about that?" And Mark just looked up and down the row of anglers, and he's like, "You don't say. I hadn't noticed that."
It was Johnny Johnson, though.
It was. Other than that, I mean, I have it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was just. I mean, given the state of things today in America, I mean, it's something that could tie in with everything that's going on. I mean, a lot of people have no idea that was even the case, and it was like a thing that brought it to my attention. It was like, yeah, that's not really ever brought up or ever talked about. But unless you're in like a African American bass club, they kind of go over the history and stuff like that. But it's not well known. And I was like, it's something that possibly could bring to the masses.
Yeah, that's a great point. Now there are a bunch of very active African American bass clubs. But I've been fishing tournaments where they've had the African American Bass Club have a tournament there too. And I mean, there's a lot of them across the country.
Yeah. Yep. Good idea, man.
That's my whole premise is that why do we even have them? Like a lot of people, like the assumption is this is a blacks only bass club, and we're like, no, you got to go behind the history, and that's what gave me the idea was having to explain the history of why we even have one. It's because of segregation. You couldn't join a white bass club. It was just a thought.
Yeah. No, man, we appreciate the call and appreciate your comments.
All right, no problem. Y'all guys take care. Keep doing what you're doing. And hopefully we get to work again at the class. But I don't know how things are going to go this year. You know.
I know. All right, man. Take care.
All right, take care.
All right, see you.
Great. I pissed off everybody in Tennessee.
Why?
With my Vols on that.
Did we play them?
No, we just did. Remember, we did the.
Oh, yeah.
We just played them a couple years ago.
Yeah. All right. Back to the phones. Hey, you're on BTL. Who is this?
Hey, this is Rick from California.
Rick,
what's up?
What's on your mind, man?
Hey, I was just kind of wondering, going to the Bass Pro Shops, there's nothing there. And I have a Bass Pro Shops really close to my house. And most of the people in there, I mean, just by looking at them, aren't really fishing people. So I think, the industry is going to have a huge, huge boost with new people coming in. The amount of coverage on TV, the amount of tackle being sold. What's really interesting to me is what was on the shelf. Spinnerbaits, lizards, and jigs.
We talked about that, man.
Lizards and spinnerbaits are two of my favorite things. Jigs, being from the Delta, I just dragged a jig. I didn't flip. I mean, I went to so many Robert Lee seminars. I'm like, God, I should probably start flipping. But yeah, what was amazing is what was on the shelf. Spinnerbait. I love spinnerbait fishing. Bottom of the column, top of the column, middle of the column, top water, waking it. I think it's one of the most versatile baits any beginner can throw.
I agree.
Totally agree. One of my favorite shows to watch is the FLW 2017, 2016, 2018, I don't know, where they went to Cumberland in the spring and it was flooded. And everybody had the 3/4 ounce double willow leaf, Andy Morgan, all of them. And it was a whack fest on the spinnerbait. You just can go back and watch the replay of that show. And it is one of the most fun spring, high, muddy water, all three species, smallmouth, largemouth, spotted bass, drilling big double willow leaf spinnerbaits. So,
man, I'm going to have to find that one. Yeah, I haven't seen that. Definitely sounds like something to watch.
Yeah.
All right. I got to ask him. We're going to try and get him on the show next week. The performance that Ish Monroe had on the Delta, I made the statement, one of the best, most greatest, whatever you want to say, home field advantages in the history of tournament bass fishing. For him to win by 16 pounds over 3 days with limited fishing time. Do you agree with that or disagree with that?
Absolutely. Home field advantage for him is huge. He could leave for 3 months, come back, and smack him on the Delta. The Delta is just one of those places that's loaded with fish. And if you spend any time on that water, you will find those fish. You could leave for a year and come back and find those fish. The Delta is crazy loaded with huge bass. And the amount of time I spent on that water, you throw big baits, you get big fish, period. It's one of those places. Don't throw small baits. During the summer, we go down to small crankbaits and small topwaters, and you'll get big fish to come up and bite them. But most of the time, Ish Monroe could leave for a year. He could probably leave for 5 years, come back here and win a tournament. I absolutely agree with that, Mark. Absolutely.
All right, good stuff. All right, man, appreciate you calling.
All right, great. I'm gonna try to throw some of those big bites off my surfboard while I'm fishing for calico bass. So that's kind of what I'm looking at doing.
I bet they'd work.
Hey, if you get some pictures
of that, they work fine. Yeah, I'm starting to figure out the calicos and the fish out here. I haven't been doing it too long, but they're just like largemouth bass in the lake. So I'm just learning this techniques, and I'm going to definitely try to throw some. So you guys have a great day. I appreciate you guys a lot.
All right, if you get some, man, send us some pics. We'll share it on the show.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, I definitely will, Mark, for sure.
All right, cool. All right, see you, man.
Bateman talking about the painted blades.
All right, see you.
Yeah, the painted blades were in that one, and then the other tournament that the painted blades really showed up was Grand Lake in 19. That Michael Mateau was throwing that chartreuse white blade. The painted blades definitely making a comeback. Besides the orange kicker, we're talking the actual painted blades. I feel like Andy Morgan's been throwing a painted blade for a long time.
Yeah, it's
number
cool
of
stuff.
Different guys have. Jason Christie doesn't like to throw it because he feels as though the thump, the crispness of the blade is dulled by paint on it. It's
okay.
Truth.
All right. Going to be the final call of the day. Let's go to the phones. Hey, you're on BTL. Who is this?
Hey, this is Leighton from North Carolina. How's it going?
Wayne, what's on your mind, man? You're the last call of the day.
It's actually Leighton. I called y'all last time.
Oh, Leighton. Sorry, man.
Yeah. Oh, that's all right. It's no problem. It happens all the time. I was listening to everybody talk about 20 feet deep, and I love watching those. And I thought of something that a lot of people hadn't brought up is Lake Norman in North Carolina kind of has the same deal that Guntersville has going on with the fact that Hank Cherry, reigning Bassmasters Classic champion, and Brian Thrift, who will always be the reigning Forest Wood Cup champion, both live there. Andy Montgomery's from there. Matt Aries from there. There's a ton of pros that come off of that particular lake for some reason. And they're totally different lakes, Lake Guntersville and Lake Norman.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just interesting why they tend to flock to one area.
Yeah,
but I just wondered if you guys had any thoughts about that.
It would be cool. I agree with that. I think it's weird. The pockets around the country where professionals either come from or move to is very, very cool to find the behind-the-scenes story on why they're living there. You know, what are the reasons?
Mm-hmm.
Does it help their performance? Does it help them be a professional? Does it improve their game? You know, all that stuff is really, really cool to find out from a fan perspective.
There's definitely something about the Carolinas. And you go Casey Ashley and Davey Height, LaHue, Brandon Cobb, all those guys that he just named, Thrift, Airy, I keep going.
Fritz.
And there's one thing about all those guys is they're all very versatile anglers. And you look at the lakes and I think it's a part of the country where it's not always easy to catch fish. You have a mixture of stained and muddy water where rivers and creeks play a lot of the time. But you also have to be very adept at the more finesse techniques, the Nico rig, the shaky head, the wacky rig. And then you throw the bluebacks into that part of the country so you understand offshore fish, how they relate to bait, how to target schoolers. But then you can also throw the mop jig and the structure fishing in for largemouth on those same bodies of water. And then when you take them across the country, outside of grass tournaments, and there's a lot of water willow and things like that. I'm talking about offshore deep hydrilla grass and things like that, which you actually get, you know, if you go over Cooper River and things like that. But dude, that area just has a little bit of everything that you can get really good in, similar to that kind of TVA triangle there in Guntersville and that kind of East Texas, Toledo, Rayburn, that type of thing. Fair assessment?
Oh, definitely. And, you know, Lake Norman is also, like you said, those lakes are really close together. Lake Norman's not an hour from High Rock, which has had the Classic like 3 times, you know, and it's a totally different beast than Lake Norman, which is deep and clear. High Rock's shallow and flipping dock.
Yep. Yeah, you've got to throw Todd Otten in there, too.
Yeah, there's just a ton of guys that come from that 100-mile area around those lakes that, you know, they're dominating right now. And it was just, I hadn't heard anybody else bring up the fact that the reigning FLW champion and Bassmasters Classic champion are from the same, you know, 10-mile area.
Interesting. Yeah,
and it's just interesting to me.
Yeah, great point, man.
But,
all right, appreciate the call, man.
Thanks, guys.
All right, take care.
Bye.
All right, man. Almost 90 minutes, dude. Over 90
and we
minutes.
still didn't get to talk about buzzbaits. I'm depressed now. We did. We got Maynard in with the Floyd's buzzer. We got the original buzzbait, but Bebe was on to talk about buzzbaits. We might have to get that segment in later, or I might have to just watch his buzzbait specials on his channel. Do I have to pick a winner out of all this? I'm already sending stuff to Josh for just getting pretty much every element for the past year in his call. We had some great calls, dude. You got to go with the guy with the list, William.
Yeah,
from South Carolina.
He had a ton of stuff, man.
William.
Yeah.
Matt at basszone.com. Mark at basszone.com. Shoot us an email and we'll get you some BFEs.
Yeah.
Headed your way.
All right, man. Great stuff. I know the fans, they greatly appreciate Sunline and the sponsorship of the Sunline Hotline show. So we will do that. We will continue to do it. Next month, I think we're going to have Mark Menendez on when we do the Sunline Hotline show. Because we're
during a tournament?
No, we're not going to have a watch party. So have him on to kind of.
Does John Cox win the title?
Probably.
What do you think? There was
Probably
zero
so.
in the weights, though.
Yeah.
You
I
got
don't
numerous more zeros before we get to the.
Yeah.
Who's
I
your
don't know.
winner?
I'll take him.
Really?
Why not? Is that a cheesy pick? I'm not trying to be cheesy, but good grief, man. The dude is freaking good. And
No.
on fire.
I'm, hold on. I'm trying to figure out. You just keep this music running. Oh, there it is.
I'm trying.
Why the heck not? Let's go Gray Buck.
Good pick.
I'm picking Gray. If anyone deserves it, legitimately nice dude.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if we're going nice guys, James Niggemeyer's going to win it. But outside of that, I'm going Gray Buck.
All right, good stuff, folks. Want to appreciate all the people that called in today. And we will be back. It is Monday, August 1st. Can you look that up real quick?
Yeah.
I have a reason.
Well, Tuesday is September 1st. August 1st was a long time ago.
I'm sorry.
Tuesday
September 1st.
is September 1st.
Okay, so next week, Matthew, here's what we're going to have to do. We got to go Monday, Wednesday, Thursday next week. Are you here next week or are you gone?
I'm here depending on Laura.
The hurricane.
I'll
Right,
either
so-
be leaving Friday or not at all.
All right, so just check the website out. As I do every Sunday evening, I will post the schedule for the upcoming week. And once again, we appreciate all the feedback. Please do us a favor. If you're listening to us on iTunes, leave us a review, give us a rating. It helps us out immensely. If you're not a subscriber to us on YouTube, please do that. That helps us out too. As I've mentioned several times, we were late on the YouTube game. We've only been doing it for a little while.
Did you
Not very
zoom
long.
the camera in so we're like closer?
No.
Yeah, you did. It's
No, it's
definitely
about the
closer.
same. It's kind of the same distance. Anyway, back on Monday, folks. Everybody be safe. Have a great weekend. We're out of here.